Hey guys, so let's talk about some problems that I've had with the generator shed. One problem in particular. Now, a lot of this is going to boil down to I wasn't taking care of the generator like I was supposed to. I wasn't coming out here and running a load on it every 2 or 3 months, which is really important to do. But the biggest thing that you want to do that for, other than, keeping the generator working in great condition, is to keep that battery charged up. And so with our generator that we have in here, which is a Champion generator, it's dual fuel. This one on my house is not the inverter type, but it's just a cheaper generator that I got to keep outside in the shed. But where I went wrong was thinking that I didn't have to do all the upkeep, because number one, I'm not running gas in it. I'm not running any gas in it. And so I'm not worried about the carburetor blocking up. Well, if the carburetor doesn't block up, then the only thing that I felt that I had to really worry about was the battery being charged. Well, I put a battery tender junior on there and let it charge all the time. It's plugged up to the house. And I came out here to start it last month just to try to make sure everything worked, because it was going to start getting cold again. And I hit the button to start it up, and blah, nothing. So what I actually figured out is the battery tender junior wasn't working, and the reason that it wasn't working is because the GFI outlet that it was plugged into had quit working. So I had to change that outlet out. Now, the one thing about the generator that I have in here is the reviews say that the thing won't even start with the pull start if the battery's dead. And so that's one reason that I wanted to stay on top of this whole battery thing. Well, let me tell you. So I got all that fixed. I got it started that day. I ended up using like a jump starter and just putting it on the little big battery. It's hard to get it to stay on there, but it did. I even put a regular battery charger on there for a little while. Everything I thought was working fine. Now I came out here like a month later, because I thought through the winter I'm going to come out here every month and just come out and start it up, try to find a little load to put on there. And I come out here today and nothing. Now the battery tender junior says it's working, says it's charging. It doesn't say that it's full, which is weird because it's been plugged up for a month and it started out with it full. So that made me wonder if the little battery wasn't holding the charge that goes in the generator. So I thought about this, and it's probably overkill, but we just redneckerized this whole thing. So I have this thing permanently mounted in this generator shed. It's not going anywhere. I care less if the battery sits in the little battery tray, which means that I don't need a battery that's 4 inches by 6 inches or whatever the dimensions are on that thing. And I thought, well, just put a bigger battery on there. My initial thought and the plan that I went with was a lawnmower battery. I did think about, I thought, well, if I'm going to spend, I wasn't going to get the lower tier one, which let's face it, all these batteries that I was looking at were well above and beyond the little tinker battery that comes on these things. But I thought I want to get like the higher model lawnmower battery instead of the cheaper one. That way maybe it'll hold a little bit more charge. It's got more cold cranking amps, which, I wouldn't think that you need a whole lot of cold cranking amps on a generator, since they come with those teeny tiny batteries on them anyway. I was wondering, if I paid $60 something for this lawnmower battery, then should I just buy a car battery? Because you get one of those for just a little bit more and it would have a little bit more juice in there. But then, I figure the lawnmower battery is going to be fine, especially with the battery tender on there, but we'll have to see. It's still charging right now because it wasn't fully charged, so it's still showing that it's charging. I am going to keep track of that battery tender, see if I need to do something different there, make sure that it's doing its job. So I'm going to try to keep a closer eye on that. I will say on this particular generator, it was pretty easy because I just had to pull the bolt where the very short ground wire was going to for the battery. And so I pulled that off and I just put a longer wire there. Now I had some 8-gauge wire, but I wanted some nice good lugs on there. And I didn't have any 8-gauge lugs and I couldn't find any at the store. So I went a little overkill, and I did use 4-gauge wire and 4-gauge lugs on this thing. And so it's way more beefy than it needs to be. But the battery's sitting right beside the generator, which is fine because it's out of the weather for the most part. The generator's there, and I used a 2-foot cable for the ground because it was closer to that side. And then with this particular generator too, all I had to do was take off a nut that was holding the wire, the hot wire to the starter. I just had to take that off, and then I had to add my longer 4-gauge cable, which I used a 3-foot long one there, and put on there, tighten it up. Used a couple of washers, tighten it down to the battery real good, and she starts right up, no problems at all. So I'm gonna keep you updated on any issues that I have with this generator shed. I'm just gonna keep adding to the playlist as we need to, but that's the first issue that I've had. So just be careful about that battery. I think that this would be a little bit harder, say if you had the Predator 3500 like we have in our camper. A lot of people use those in the sheds too, but you're gonna have more issues getting to those cables because there's panels and stuff covering those up. So for this Champion generator, this worked out easy, worked out great. Hopefully it'll be a better option. The battery will hold more charge, and hopefully the Battery Tender Junior will keep it charged up, but only time will tell. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.